All right, here I am. And let me. Okay. All right. I am here. I have made it because it was a heck of a week. Sick all week with uh, flu. Um, at least it wasn't, I'm pretty sure it wasn't COVID. I tested 3 times and came up negative all 3 times, but who knows? It could have been a variant. Um, but uh, definitely sick all week. Took me quite a while to shake it. And it was just in like the last maybe 36 hours that I finally started um, feeling better and being able to sleep at night. That was the most difficult part. I wasn't getting good sleep at night because I couldn't breathe and I'd be coughing. And I will try to avoid having a coughing fit here because the more I talk, the more the it triggers the response to cough. Anyway, we're up to 1999, and so I know I'm anticipating a couple people that will join us, today to talk about the year in music in 1999. And so wait for them to come up and join us today. A lot of For me, the 1999 was you know not a really strong year. The late 90s in particular were not very strong years for me. Although there was plenty of interesting house and techno and you know dance beats and things like that were coming out at that time, and I was listening to quite a bit of it and going to the clubs and yeah, we're gonna party like it's 1999, right? um, and hello, Jason. And yeah, it was a little bit better, perhaps. The But yeah, it was just one of those things that the year was. Um, I've shown some of the like CD singles of dance that I've picked up, and then there was some earlier in the '90s with Underworld, which was a project that I was really getting into. But a lot of the other material, dance and house music that I was listening to at that time, was more going into the early 2000s. But in terms of overall pop music, I wasn't really buying a whole lot. That doesn't mean there wasn't a whole lot of music being produced, and some of it being really good. There was a lot of crap too, but there was a lot of music I just didn't know about, and really didn't even hear about, and still don't know about, because that's when some of the people who are regulars who come up here to talk about the music of that era. I am always learning new stuff and new interesting stuff that my mind is, or I am becoming aware of, and I write stuff down of stuff that you people like Jason and Stunty show. So let me get the invite out here in the stream. But oh, and yeah, let's see. I don't need to leave your comment up there all day, Chris. Didn't mean to do that. So yeah, I'm still a little bit befuddled from my this last week of fighting whatever the hell flu I had or whatever. And hello, Chris.
Hi. I'm worried about Y2K.
Yeah. Boy, I remembered all that, that was going on, and like it was going to be the end of the world, and over a simple thing as to how, a calendar software was put together, for computers. Oh my God, we're going to lose our bank accounts. We're going to lose access to the financial world's going to collapse. And, I don't know if it was real or not. And maybe they did fix it. I'm not a coder. I really don't know how serious that problem was. I know there was a lot of hype about it because I was working in the news business, and oh my gosh, it was like, that's news bread and butter. Create anxiety over uncertainty.
Yeah.
So
there was a guy who used to work at my university who was like a big like survivalist prepper type.
uh-huh.
I heard that like when he left the university and moved, someone I knew who helped him when he was packing up his stuff, he had all this like Y2K like freeze dried food and all this stuff that he had bought, and he still had tons of it left a couple of years later.
Yeah, I think the whole survivalist thing was really kind of going on anyway. It kind of started in the 90s, and maybe it was in anticipation of the whole, Y2K thing. The other thing is that it really revealed at that time, I think there was a shift in the way people talked about decades, because the year 2000 is not the start of the new millennia. It's not the start of a new decade. 2001 is. The first year of a decade is 1, not 0. The 0 year is actually the 10th year. So it's like, so
does that mean if we're talking about 90s records, I mean, I call that 90 through 99 because there's like a 9.
Right. Well, when you're talking about 90s records, right. But the decade of the 90s includes the year 2000. And because the year 2000 is the last year of the decade, just like 1990 is the last year of the decade of the 80s, because it's year 10. So we don't start counting at 0. We start counting at 1. But that's a nerdy thing that I just, one of those things that I like talking about because, but we're still going to party like it's 1999. So there you go.
Yep.
Which that actually, when did that come out?
I think it was 1982 or 83.
Yeah, right. Because I remember that being in the 80s. We're going to party like it's 1999.
I mean, I have the album. I could go look.
I have Purple Rain. I don't have that one. So I should probably look into getting some more prints. Yeah, 1999.
And it is 1982.
Wow, that was yeah.
Uh,
Well, David Bowie had that song about 1984, and that came out in 1975.
yeah, yeah. I know. Oh, on the Gunkles episode last night, you guys were talking about the PMRC. I know Darling Nikki was on Purple Rain, but there are a few songs on this one that Tipper couldn't have liked either.
Yeah, it yeah, that was interesting though how they really did seem to pick on the two genres of music, primarily the metal.
Metal and black people seem to be
Right.
focused.
It seemed to be so focused on that. And Jesus, it's like they never were even listening to, you know, everything else that went on for the previous 30 years. It was just coded better, I guess, but the content was still the same. It was all about, getting hooched up and screwing. Oh, well, rock and roll will never die. How many records do you think you have for this illustrious year,
I've got
1999?
about 4 or 5 vinyl and about the same CD wise. So
Yeah, okay. Well, that's more than what I have. And then, hello, Jorgen. Hey,
Good evening, good evening.
good evening out there. So, how many records do you think you have for 1999?
Uh, okay, staff, but smaller than the rest,
I
than
have,
the previous.
yeah, and I have one. I have one in my stack today that I won't be surprised if Jorgen has it as well.
Wow, interesting.
The
Mr.
rest,
Mainstream.
the rest of them he won't have, but there's one that I think will be an overlap.
I think probably one or two of the very few that I have might be an overlap with you, Chris. You probably will show at least one of them.
Okay.
It's my guess, but the other ones I'm pretty sure I don't think anybody else will be showing. So I know Jason is going to be coming up in a little bit. He's opening up his record shop. But is there anything in particular about 1999 other than Y2K? Anything else that stands out in our memory about that year?
Well, I mean, for a year, that was the year that I was like working pretty hard on my dissertation. So that seemed to be my focus of 1999,
So it was a lost year.
I guess. Well, I got my PhD, so I mean, it worked
Uh,
out for me. But yeah, I probably wasn't the most engaged with the rest of the world that particular year.
Well, 1999 was the year when I moved from home. And musically, it was a little bit better maybe than 98, but especially over the spring and summer was okay. But the autumn then it went straight downhill to not return in many decades. So when it comes to 2000, I will try to scratch to something for the year 2000. But after that, I'm a little bit doubtful about my hesitation because I'm not sure that I stopped listening to more or less. Actual music to after during the 00s and 2010s and so on. So I'm not too sure that I have so much to show after 2000.
yeah, I'm looking at my just my vinyl that I have categorized for the decade of of the new millennium, I should say, for the 2000s, and it's roughly the same size as records from 1990. So, although I split my records up in different ways. So, I mean, I have some other records that are like world music category, so they're not in my 2000s, but they're over in a different area. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part,
A lot of
um,
a lot of my world music is like compilation, so it doesn't really work in like a yearly sort of format.
yeah. Um, I'm gonna. Well, I'll wait until before I show this one here, this CD, because this is also this sort of a start of a series that actually started in 1999, I think. Because I only have number two in this series is the earliest one. I mean, I've got up to like number 15 or 16 in this series of dance mixes, but the first ones were released in I think 1999. So we get started here. I know Jason is going to be joining us as soon as he gets his shop open, and
Maybe
so
we see Stunty sooner or later. Who knows?
who knows? He hasn't chimed in, so I don't even know if he's
He,
watching.
he was on Rachel's stream, but since France won, he might be running naked in the streets right now. I mean, there's always a risk he's doing that in any event, but
The people of
Yes.
Stockholm has been warned.
So- oh man, yes. All right. So well, wait a minute. There's nobody watching us right now. It's down to 0. I guess we didn't talk up the year 1999 very effectively.
Everybody is at James stream. No,
Yeah.
isn't Mr. Mayo at the same time also having his?
Well, there's well, I know that um oh God, what it's terrible when you've been sick all week and now I'm trying to remember somebody's name. But yeah, there's another stream going on at the same time. Um, John Nat, well, that's not his name. Winston Ono, whatever.
Yeah, that's
Um,
James.
James, right? James's stream is going on, and not that our audiences overlap, I think, but
Okay, I obviously I saw previously that Mr. Mayo was streaming, but he obviously has quit.
right. And let me refresh my YouTube page. Right. So his is going live right now. This one's going live right now. Rachel's is still going live right now.
Is she?
So there's
probably I was on it and I jumped off to come here, but it was still going at least as of 10 minutes ago.
So of the ones that I subscribe to, those are the only live streams I see right now going on. And then I've got a that's just a comment from something else.
How long did you stream with Robert and Mike and Craig yesterday? I caught a couple hours of it, but I quit before you guys were done.
It was another 6 or 7 hour.
Okay,
stream.
I saw about 2 hours of it.
Yeah, it was yeah. It's and it's in
So I missed the drunkest parts again.
well, yeah, I was doing shots of rum. Good rum. And it was the first time, I don't want to keep bringing up the being sick all week, but that was the first time I had anything to, drink for longer than a week, because I just wanted to get over whatever it was that I was, dealing with. And I was drinking tea for a while we were doing the stream, but then the peer pressure just kept working on me, so I had to succumb. So it was a good show. I think we had some very interesting stuff going on, and a contest. So we're doing another contest. Anyone who is out there, the other 3 people who are watching, the Gunkles contest is you pick a record for each of us, each of the 4 of us, that you think we would like. Create a video about that, and or 4 records, one for each of us, that you don't think we'd like, that we would probably, react poorly to, or something like that.
So this and jazz.
Right. We kind of make that rule that, don't even bother with that. Okay. I mean, that's too easy. That's just like
that fruit's too low hanging.
Right. So don't bother recommending a jazz record for Robert. All right. There's no creativity involved in that at all. So excuse me. All right. So we've got 3 people. Let's entertain them. What do you got there for us, Chris?
Okay, let's start off with CDs. So we got this Burl Ives Christmas CD compilation that was released in 1999, but that was music that was recorded a lot earlier than 1999.
Yeah.
So let me show you something that I don't know if you guys have ever heard of, Lauren Hoffman.
No.
So Lauren Hoffman, she's a kind of a singer-songwriter, kind of alt-rock singer-songwriter. Her first album, which I'm going to cheat and show because I missed the 1997 episode. So she had this great album called Megiddo in 1997. And then this follow-up in 1999, a few other scattered things over the last 20 years. She was only 19 when she did her first album. It was produced by David Lowery from Cracker. I thought it was really good. I think she came along a few years too late for that sort of style of like women who like played guitar and played kind of a little bit harder rock version of singer-songwriter music. So
I am like, yeah, I don't know anything about her.
Yeah, it's pretty obscure. So this was never released on vinyl back in the day. She did it on vinyl about I guess it was the 20th anniversary, and I made a video about it, and she actually commented on my video.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
I said good things about the album. So
yeah.
So
that was something that we also discussed last night in the Gunkles live stream. Records that we wish were released on vinyl. That there were a few that came out in the 90s that were only available on CD. Most notably, Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
I was so surprised.
She seems to be way too big to not at least be reissued.
Yeah,
I can understand. Lauren Hoffman's pretty obscure, so I can understand not getting reissued.
Hey,
but Sheryl Crow, I mean,
yeah, that just she needs to get I don't know, but then again, there's a lot of digital recordings that get pressed onto vinyl that are really, really excellent recordings.
Yeah,
and pressings. It's not
I think some of it might be with people like Sheryl Crow. They might think that their audience is just like completely mainstream people, and these are the people that just do Spotify and don't care about reissues.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Because a lot of the stuff that gets reissued is more stuff that was more niche back in the 90s, but nerds like us liked it, or nerds like us discovered it.
Yeah. Well, I do have it on CD, and it was pointed out to me that it was never released on vinyl, and I'm like, wow. I didn't believe it at first, but that's the case. All right. Well, welcome, Jason. Good to see you again.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here. 1999, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I didn't bring any CDs. I didn't even check my CDs, but I don't know what I have. In
I
there
just
for
have
99.
one. I just have one CD that I'll show, but and it's
I have only CDs.
Yeah,
yeah.
Jurgen's
Well,
only CD.
all right,
so
Jorgen.
yeah.
So what do you have?
What do you got?
I'm starting Swedish
All right.
with one of the best albums of the year, and it is with a girl who is one of my absolute favorite singers. Also, she's pretty famous international. Also, I'm talking about Robin and My Truth.
Oh yeah.
Robin, this is a more this is from her soul period, but she's starting to get a little first taste of that more electronic that she is doing today. But here is still main focus on someone is on the door.
Uh-oh, door time. Come back.
I'll be back in a minute.
All right.
All right.
That was an interesting doorbell, wasn't it?
Yeah, I actually thought it was your shop. That it
Ding,
was.
ding.
Just
I know it
somebody
sounds
that-
like a shop more than
Yeah.
yeah. The door.
Someone like opened the door. You know the little
Oh right, yeah.
bells at the top of the door.
Yeah.
Let the oh well.
Oh, here he comes back. He's coming
Jorgen chased them off.
back. Yeah.
Seller.
I'm busy on the internet.
Amazon delivery.
Someone was selling lotteries.
Oh,
But
Door to door.
this is a little suburb soul style, and I like it very much. I love her voice. They are so extremely great stuff here. You can check out the single Main Thing that is so amazingly funky, and play also a really soul summer classic. So this is definitely one of my absolute favorite albums in the 1999.
And her name is Robin.
with a
Yep,
Y.
Robin. She had a pretty good hits in the 90s in USA.
Yeah, what was
Show
her
Me
big
Love.
hit? Show Me
Show
Love.
Me Love was a pretty good hit in USA. Hi Ed.
Hey Ed. Not to be confused with Robin S., who had Show Me Love as well. Very different
No.
singer.
A miles between them.
Yes, I prefer the Robin S. Robin, but this one's not bad. This Robin's not. She's Swedish. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. Figured
All
from the
right.
blonde
She
hair.
still does music. She's still very big in Sweden also, though she makes long periods between her albums.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, hey Jason, what you going to start us off with?
Okay, I guess I'll start off with a little bit of hip hop. Hip hop and don't stop. I have a few hip hop, but I'll show a couple right now. We got Nas is back. Nostradamus. Kind of the last Nas record I bought. This is a single and a very shiny cover. Sorry about that. So it's just got two songs, Nostradamus and Shoot 'Em Up, and there's production on here by Havoc of Mobb Deep, also a really good hip hop group from the 90s. Beyond the golden era, as I always say, golden era is done by 93. So this is actually kind of getting in that kind of boogie kind of like dance club era for Nas. It's funny because Nas is a guy who started off with Illmatic, very like well received, well loved, classic hip hop album in like maybe 93 or 94. And then he's kind of goes all over the place because hip hop kind of implodes on him, right? Like it's no longer, hip hop guys are no longer on the majors, like the underground guys are not on the majors. So you've either got to make a choice at this point. You go underground, like I showed last week in 1998, Raucous label, or you go overground, Biggie, Puff Daddy, the kind of clubby hip hop. So Nas decides to straddle both a bit, and this one's kind of a clubby track for Nas. Not a bad single though, because I have it. And I'll do one more on the underground side of hip hop. What I've been talking about, Pharaoh Monk, I don't know how you want to say it, but Simon Says. This was a killer track. We loved this jam back in the day. It's on the underground tip. It's on this Raucous label. There's a few labels really for the underground hip hop at this point. Raucous out of New York, Stone's Throw from the West Coast, still going, and others. And Pharaoh Monk, Simon Says. Just got a really cool like horn riff to this one. Get the hell out or something. It's the underground hip hop stuff is much more minimalist. Like I've said before, not a lot of samples. They couldn't clear the samples that they could in the olden days. Don't know if this guy's still around, but what a killer single that was.
Did that force more creativity?
It's yes and no. I mean, the underground went more minimalist, so it was more focused on the vocals and just a hard kind of minimalist hip hop beat and maybe one sample versus old days where you have like, I don't know, 10, 12 samples in a song, right?
Yeah, right.
They're just kind of going for a different vibe, I think. The raucous scene was a lot of like underground nightclubs in New York where they were rapping at these clubs, and then these records kind of flowed from that.
All right.
2 for $99 right there.
The first one I'm going to show is a CD, and it's maybe I'm bending the rules a little bit because it's a compilation, but it's a part of this series, a dance mix series, that was called Peak Hour, and it's on the Power Mix label, and this was released in 1999. This is number 2. So I think number 1 was also released in 1999. And there's like more than 20 of them in the series as they went into the 2000s. These were $25 CDs when they were released. And you can now get them for like $1. I looked it up one time and on Discogs, and most of them are going for like $1. But this one has Madonna's Beautiful Stranger. Now, the Peak Hour, and then there was another one called Uncut. Uncut has each track separated. Okay. But the Peak Hour is continuous all the way through from one song into the other. So we've got Beautiful Stranger, a mix for Madonna, then Donna Lewis's Fool's Paradise, Dahul Meter at the Love Parade, Rough Drivers presents Awola or Awoya, Dreaming, Aaron Hamilton, The Temple, Whitney Houston, My Love Is Your Love. That was like a really big dance mix for that was going on at that time. Miss Jane, It's a Fine Day, All or Nothing by Cher, You Need Me, Boys, You Needed Me, Boyzone, and Essence, The Promise. So I really liked these because a lot of the particular mixes that were put together for this, I was buying them in Chicago. There was a store in Boys Town that was selling them, and so when I would come to Chicago, I would buy these because they were great dance mixes. And I was living in Michigan at the time, and so I would buy them and take them home. So actually there were quite a few DJs in the clubs who were playing a lot of these mixes that I really liked, and some on occasion there were some that it was difficult for me to track down. I would hear something, in the club, and then I would see a CD of that mix in a store or something like that, and then I would pick it up, but then it wasn't the right mix. So that's when I started to learn to pay attention to, who was the DJ who created that mix, because they were being identified sometimes, not always. Like this one here doesn't identify who did the mix. It just identifies the original artist in the song. So yeah, it was kind of a with some of them it was a tough go. There was an Amber song, a couple Amber songs, and a couple Olive songs that and there was that one that what was this would have been in the 2000s, the Barclay, but oh shit, I can't remember now. And I used to have that CD, and I don't anymore.
That's an interesting compilation because it says on Discogs it was made for professional fitness people. I think it's supposed to be like played in the gym. I think, hence the peak hour, I guess.
It could be because it qualifies as high energy dance.
Yeah, it's pretty up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it
But yeah, it doesn't list who the remixers are, so it doesn't help you too much to
No.
let them down. Eh?
And like I said, they were expensive, both the uncut and also the peak hour. But some of the peak hours that I have that were later in the 2000s, to me, they're just really great mixes, and they're great CDs to put on because I do like the way they just one track goes into the other. I bought some of the uncuts, but it was like the interruption is kind of like, it's didn't quite like it like that so much. So anyway, that's
Hello.
Peak Hour, good series,
Cool.
expensive at the time, and now it's like nothing.
$1.50 on Discogs. Yeah.
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 I was kind of hoping that there was like some resale value with these, and I'm like, no.
Not if it was, unless it was like a European import maybe or something. But it looks like it's out of New York that series was created.
Right. They used to have a website so that you could go to and buy all of them. But I don't think that exists anymore. I don't know what happened to them. That's probably why they're so cheap. The company went out of business or something. Anyway.
I love that Chris is worried about Y2K.
Yeah.
That was definitely,
1999.
1999. Remember those days? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The Y2K is going to crash the whole world.
Yes.
I
And all
prefer
this,
Y2J,
Y2J. Yeah.
Chris Jericho.
well, Chris, what do you have from
All right.
the year before the fall?
All right, next thing I'm going to show is a Paul Westerberg solo album. This one is called Suicaine Gratifaction. It was produced by Don and Paul Westerberg. I'm not getting the focus, but Don was and Paul Westerberg produced it. The fifth track, the Born for Me track, with Paul singing with Sean Colvin, is a really strong track. Paul did that song again later in his career. He was still on a major label at this point. He was still releasing stuff pretty regularly at this point. And then as you get into the 21st century, Westerberg becomes much more sporadic. And now I think he's basically done. I don't think we're ever going to see another Paul Westerberg record.
See, no, that's again, that's somebody I don't know who that is. So,
Do you know the Replacements? You at least heard of them.
I've heard of the Replacements.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, he was the main guy from
Replacements
the
are awesome.
Replacements, and so this was after they broke up and he went solo.
Is it any good? Is it like the Replacements or?
It's definitely more. It's like the later Replacements.
More commercial pop rock kind of?
Well, I would say it's probably getting less commercial, but it's more songwritery. It's not. He's not a punk anymore. It's not 1982 anymore.
Yeah,
So
he's grown up. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get like 20-year-old young snotty punk Paul Westerberg anymore.
I love that early stuff, the early Replacements.
So
Yeah, I know other Replacements, but again, that's a band I really never listened to. Not because I just liked them or anything. It was just something I wasn't exposed to.
I think you'd dig it, Richard. I mean, especially the later stuff, they got more melodic. They're good songwriters. I mean, the Tim album, I would recommend. That's a good midway point, post-punk, and then before they got, they were on a commercial label at that point. They were on a major label, but the Tim album.
I'll have to...
But I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess I knew that Paul Westerberg did solo stuff, but I've never seen it. Never seen it in the wild. I guess it's not on vinyl either, probably.
probably not. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's unlikely. And he's had some. He had a thing that he only released on YouTube and some stuff that got released on SoundCloud under a pseudonym that was just basically a random string of numbers. He does stuff like that. And now he hasn't released anything in, I think, about 6 or 7 years. And at this point, it seems like he's just basically... He probably makes just enough money off his back catalog, and he hates the music industry. So he's probably just said, fuck it.
Oh, that record got reissued in 2015 on vinyl.
Okay.
A 180 gram.
What was the original recording? Was it original digital recording then?
CD. It was all CDs. There was a
Yeah,
cassette,
okay.
I think, in there.
See, I didn't look. I would
And
assume.
by 1999, they were
There was a
not
cassette.
compressing the audio so much anymore, right? With the CDs, not like they were at the beginning.
Yeah. I don't know what the process was for that album
Yeah.
in '99.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's none of that like DDD ADD code on here. I think at this point I think they didn't even care about putting that stuff on at that point.
Well, yeah, because everything was being recorded digitally.
This is like no one's ever going to make a vinyl album again. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that day? I mean, they did remaster it for the vinyl reissue as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it sounds better or worse.
Okay, well, Jorgen, what do you got for us?
I'm going to continue in the same style as the previous one, still Swedish, but this is a musician that actually was part producing this one. He started off as a rock guy, was a part of a band, Swedish rock band called Imperiet in the 80s. Did some really great stuff. And then he turned himself to the dance music in the 90s, into soul and house style, and became very popular, very successful, had very great reviews and so on. But working mostly behind the scenes. But 1999, he took a step forward into the light himself. I'm talking about Christian Falk and his album Quel Bordel, who is a really nice soul stuff. And I'm sure that Christopher will enjoy this so much. But it is a really nice, smooth, and at the same time very funky, like Robin, very little suburb soul, and really, really relaxing and well-produced house soul. And I also have some singles. Also, we have Christian Falk featuring Javita Steele and his version of "Calling You," the song from the movie.
Hey, you got heavy praise from Christopher.
Okay, we're connecting something. This is "Calling You" from that movie, Baghdad Cafe. In a great soul version, and this is "Make It Right," a really funky single from this album. So highly recommended. Soul Pearl, Swedish Soul Pearl, Quel Bordel by Christian Falk.
You know, this is going to sound really weird, but I recognize that cover. So I know I have probably seen it, you know, like a long time ago, but I saw that and I'm like, I've seen that someplace.
Unfortunately, he's no longer among us. He died, I think, around 7-8 years ago in what I think it was cancer or something like that. So rest in peace.
Yeah, I thought for sure I had the soft bulletin, except that the Flaming Lips that I have is actually, what the hell is it called? Yoshi and the monster or whatever. I can't remember what it was called. That's the one, you know, that I had.
Yeah.
What do you got there,
Oh,
Chris?
Christopher mentioned the Fiona Apple album from that year. I have it. When the Pawn, and then there's like an 80-word title, and it's in this tiny print that I can't read. So it's called When the Pawn. So I don't think it was as good as Title from a couple of years earlier, but it's she's never really had a bad album. So.
Huh. All right, Jason, what have you got for us?
Christopher's got a lot of suggestions, none of which I own or have heard of, half of them. Okay, I got some techno here. Surprise. 2 ones here. If you want to make me big. Oh, okay. So last week I showed Triumph, the first compact release. And those are the kind of logos on the singles. And then they would come out with compilations that have this kind of design. So this is Jurgen's always in Sweden. I'm going over to Cologne, Germany, which is what is that like? It's on. There's a point in Cologne that's like 4 different countries or 3 countries. You can stand at this one point on an edge. Jurgen Pape, Glands. This is one of the co-founders of the label, along with Wolfgang Voigt, which Stunty has shown many of that guy's stuff under the name Gas and other pseudonyms. Jurgen Pape. So, compact label, comes out of the late 90s, really dominates the 2000s. Label's still going. They have a pop edge to them. If you're looking for any kind of like ambient, kind of soothing electronic pop, compact is a pretty cool label to check out. This early stuff is a little edgier, but it's extremely minimal and boutique and very subtle. Sometimes like the track sounds like they're using like just static to make a groove out of. It's got this really cool shuffle and swing, so it's like kind of future funk, but extremely minimal. No vocals, obviously. So this is compact number 3, and then this is compact number 12. Both of these came out the same year. Dettinger, I'm going to be showing in 2000. This is a spoiler alert. He has an amazing album in 2000 on the compact label. And right now, this is just a single, Toad and Toes. And then we don't know what happens to Dettinger. It seems like he drops off the face of the planet after a couple of years. I'll have to like see if Stunty's heard anything from him in the underground, but I'm presuming a Cologne-based German producer. And so those are my 2 on compact records. Very minimalist techno. And kind of smooth, like kind of, sometimes they were calling it micro house. It's almost like tech house. It's not like the minimal techno of driving, you know, like Detroit, Jeff Mills driving on the dance floor. This is more boutique. This is more in a lounge or maybe in a cafe kind of minimal techno.
So it's taken me a while to understand what the nomenclature, you know, like
The different waves
what
of
is
techno.
house, what is techno,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is trance. You
Yeah.
know, I can kind of hear some of the, you know, well, like
differences.
a high energy dance,
Yeah.
you know, is probably what I heard most of the time in the clubs that I went to.
Yeah.
But then I realized that trance also is a very danceable kind of, you know, it's not, I don't know. So, but then I heard
Trance can be
somebody
very
talk
high
about
energy,
there's
too.
like number of beats per minute
Yeah.
that it's pretty rigid, and I don't know.
Yeah, those would be very high tempo. These ones, the tempo is right around like 125, around like a house tempo. I mean, generally the difference between house and techno, you know, right? Like house usually has vocals, it's a bit slower, more soulful. Techno is more electronic and faster and no vocals, give or take, right? But there's always like exceptions and stuff.
Right.
And then you have tech house, and then you have all these micro genres, subgenres within techno. So this is kind of a new subgenre that's being created, this minimal digital based, versus the earlier 90s. There was minimal techno that was all analog based, hardware and stuff out of Detroit, whatever machines they could get their hands on. Now these guys are producing techno using software. They're using Ableton or whatever. And we don't realize that, but we take it for granted now, all the digital software, DJ software. That was avant-garde, cutting edge in 99. Like only a few people had these production software, and they were kind of experimenting with this software.
Yeah, I remember that. I think the first time I ever saw a DJ as a performer was at a club it was a big club, and it was in Singapore. Then they had like 3 sections, but there was this one big like dance area and then there was the DJ up on the stage, like a performer would be on the stage, and
Right.
and she was creating her mixes right there, you know, in
the
there. It was the first time I'd ever seen the process, and it was kind of fascinating to watch what was going on. And it was good. It was before Ministry of Sound had their club there, and I never got a chance to go to that, and then, of course they didn't last, but they
See, yeah, the original DJ scene, the DJ was hidden, right? Like I used to go to clubs in Montreal.
Right.
The DJ was literally in a closet somewhere,
Right,
an after
right.
party,
they
no
were
lights in the whole
this
place.
loft or something. you know?
Yeah, far away, so he couldn't get requests, so he wouldn't bother
Right.
him. You know what I mean? And he had his whole crew and entourage, or him or her. And then they became like with the EDM thing. Now they're kind of front and center on stage, blowing off like firecrackers or whatever, and it's kind of gone a whole other direction, right?
Like what's the mouse?
Performing. Yeah, Dead Mouse and Skrillex. I've seen some of them at festivals. It's crazy that they can command a festival kind of experience and crowd, right? So they
Well,
they
they
feel
had
forced
that
to do
huge
something.
one in
you know?
Las Vegas a few months ago.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was like, my gosh.
it's kind of
Yeah.
a totally different vibe, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I used to go out to Vegas during the summer when I was playing poker seriously. It was called, I think it was Electric Daisy Festival.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
That would be, yeah, because I remember that particular weekend, there'd be all the young electronic party people would be around
yeah.
Vegas, as opposed to all the old miserable poker players.
Yeah. And
I was
the
gonna say,
traffic
like-
out to the speedway was just awful.
Yeah.
For me, 1999 is kind of the end of rave for me. 99 or 2000. At that point, as I've said before, a lot of the drug dealers in Canada, the biker gangs, they just kind of took over all the raves, and they started doing all the programming. I mean, they were always doing the drugs, but now they were starting to do the programming, and had no clue what the fuck they were booking. And I think there was also like just fatigue in the scene. So out of the rave, the ashes of raves, which were kind of like, they were getting bigger and bigger all the time. In 1999, I think the largest one I went to was at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. It was just like massive. And then out of the ashes of that comes EDM, where they're just like, okay, let's make festivals. It's not going to be a rave. It's going to be a 4-day festival, multi-stage. It's going to be outdoors and kind of a different vibe, really. Whereas rave sort of started out as like cottage industry, especially in North America. In England, they were out in fields, right? They were just like
Right.
squatting and stuff. So
And I
anyway,
always
rave versus
associated
EDM
raves-
fest, a little bit different.
I always associated raves as being in some, they
Warehouse
be in some
kind of.
abandoned warehouse.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Montreal would start to shut them down. It was kind of funny in Montreal because like the fire code guys would shut it down, right? They'd be like,
Yeah.
"This is fucking." But you could get away with 3 or 4 or 5 months before the fire department came because people were paying off people at the city hall or whatever. Like the parties were happening, then they get shut down. They're happening. It was kind of fun, but yeah.
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 All right.
At some point in the 90s, I was in Seattle, just visiting as a tourist, and I met this young woman, and we were hanging out, and we ended up getting invited to like this rave party that was like in the Space Needle. The only reason why I got
Space
to go
Needle.
was the guy who was doing the invitations. He saw her, so he's like, "Oh, cute young woman, I'll invite her." And then she's like, "Can I bring my friend?" And he's like, "I guess so."
I guess so. Yeah. So you snuck in, eh, Chris?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's cool. You got to see it.
yeah.
So my first record, this is one that I bought solely because of the cover. I was browsing the Alternative Tentacles website, and mostly because I was looking for, I was on the hunt for No Means No, and I kept hearing that they were going to do a reissue of the No Means No that I really wanted, which I ended up at buying an original because they weren't going to reissue it. Damn them. And then I saw this one. All right,
What the hell is that?
Pachinko.
Okay.
Splendor in the Ass 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Richard had to have it.
Yeah, I looked at this,
Funny looking
cute
cover.
nerdy boy on the cover, and I'm like, all right. So this is what I saw, in the store. When I got the record, then I could see the back cover.
Ah.
So, and I love the way they put the barcode over his eyes. And
That's wicked. That should have been the front cover.
And so I knew nothing about the band. And it turns out they're from Madison, Wisconsin. And this, and of course, the inside is. I'll have to cover up
Okay.
the rabbit's genitals that they have on this. But they had this rabbit that you could color, and submit. It was a contest so that you could go out on a date with an arranged date with the band. So that's the Pachinko Bunny Coloring Contest.
Is this like indie rock? What is it? Or alternative? Or
It's kind of noise post-punk,
what? Okay.
and very much like No Means No.
Okay.
And I really liked it. I mean, this is, it was a completely blind buy, bought solely because of the cover. And it's really, and then I remember seeing it like an interview of this kid, what he looks like now, who they used his photo for the cover.
So that's
They have some other records, but I haven't listened to them. But yeah, this was a blind buy, and I really like it. So when I'm in the mood for that kind of, hardcore post-punk noise, I'll put that on. If I'm listening to No Means No, I'll be putting putting that on. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that I've picked up from the Alternative Tentacles website.
Yeah.
That I've got a couple 7-inch singles that I've picked up from them and they're good. I really like. I really do enjoy a lot of the music that they have on there, and
it's a cool label.
Yeah,
it's kind of experimental for punk. Like they'll experiment a bit on that label, which is cool.
Right, and of course, the numbers. I mean, this is Virus release 230, so they're all pretty low numbers. The different releases because but yeah, Pansy Division has some with them, but they're all mostly CDs. They don't have very many vinyl releases. But
they've got the legendary Shack Shakers. They're main guys from Paducah, Kentucky, which is pretty close to me. They started off as like psychobilly, and it's kind of like deranged southern rock psych punk.
Yeah, there's a few. I think I ordered it from Alternative Tentacles. Some Jello Biafra things that he did with other people.
Yeah,
like Mojo Nixon and that. I think those were available on Alternative.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any of those, but I've gotten a few of their singles as well. So
yeah, so good stuff on there. So yeah, Pachinko. If you like noise, punk, post-punk, I mean, it's good.
I'm picking it up. I'm going to definitely check it out.
Yeah, cool. It's and I know they've got some other releases, but I just I haven't felt like this is good enough for me. I enjoy it, so that's what I got so far. So moving on, then, Chris, what have you got for?
Okay, so this is the record I almost showed last week, and then I double-checked at the last minute and realized I couldn't show it until this week. So this is Slater-Kinney, The Hot Rock, which was released in early 1999. I thought 1998. So Slater-Kinney, so they're the three-piece based in Portland, Oregon. I like really Corin and Carrie, the two singers. The way they kind of a lot of times they'll be singing different verses simultaneously, but it really works. And Janet, the drummer, is a really awesome drummer. And from the late 90s, early 2000s, I think was the prime of their career. One of probably the few bands that were in their prime in that time period that I was following at the time. So I have their CD as well. I picked up the vinyl more recently. So
I know of Slater-Kinney, but it's another one that I just never was exposed to them.
Yeah, so the deal with Slater-Kinney is they went on hiatus in 2005, and they weren't a band for about 10 years, and then they came back. The first album they made after they came back was good, and the last two albums have been terrible. So They got rid of the drummer that was a huge mistake because the drummer is awesome. So
Yes, it's interesting how some bands, the drummer, some drummers get a lot of attention, and
yeah,
rightfully so because of who they are. Neil Peart, or John Bonham, and of course, Keith Moon. But then there are other drummers that um, they really are the core and center of the
yeah,
band.
yeah.
And
Slater Kinney's first two albums had different drummers, and I don't think they really hit their stride until they got Janet on the album before the one I just showed. So
yeah, cool. All right, Jorgen, what do you have?
I'm going to first make Christopher happy by showing a CD single. Christopher has mentioned a whole lot of stuff. He's getting a little bit ahead. Some of them I will show, so you will see them if you stick around, Christopher. But you mentioned Silverchair and the album Neon Ballroom. I don't have that one, but as that single Anthem for the Year 2000 came out, I actually got surprisingly happy to hear it because I thought it was really, really great, really awesome actually. So I bought the single Anthem for the Year 2000, Silverchair.
That's
But
alternative rock. Silverchair?
yeah. My main pick is a band that showed that the rumors of Britpop's dead were very much wrong. Because there was another great album by Suede called Head Music. And it is a really, really great record. Of course, coming up to me is one of the best indie pop, Britpop albums ever. So it can't go up to that one, but it is still a really, really great one, consisting some really great, and I really like the ballad "Everything Will Flow." I think that one is such a magnificent song. So Suede, Head Music, today sadly underrated and forgotten album actually.
Yeah, been hearing so much about, and maybe it's largely because of you, Jorgen, about Suede, and I just need to investigate them because I remember again this was a group I was aware of. I heard people talking about them, but I just was never really directly exposed to them. I need to check it out.
When Suede came in 1993, there were people saying that they sounded like the 70s David Bowie in a
right. I remember that comparison. Yeah.
Then it of course took more of a regular Britpop style. But that's what you can compare it to a little. It sounds a little bit like David Bowie in the 70s, Brad Anderson at times.
yeah, and at least in my recollection, Suede didn't seem to be as big in the United States as either Oasis or Blur.
They are a European thing,
Yeah.
more British and around the British area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could be there, Christopher.
Glam indie.
That would have been a very cool show, I guess, to see. Okay. So, Jason, who's got a customer, I think, right now.
No, it's okay. I'm back. Okay, I will do, after that, let's see now. I'll continue on with some more minimal techno. I'll just finish off the category kind of thing. So this is one other artist, also from Germany, I'm pretty sure, named Jan Jelnik. Jan, I'm saying it as Jan. And this is on Klang Records, which is out of Germany. This is more really delicious minimal techno, micro house as they were calling it. And this guy absolutely does digital productions that sound like the static of record making grooves. So he riffed off a whole sort of jazz kind of series where he took jazz records and kind of made minimal techno records out of them. And I think I showed one by this guy last week under the name Farben. So he goes under a couple of names, Farben, Jan Jelnik. His albums sell for quite a bit now if you have the OG presses, which I do. This is a single. It's Farben featuring the Dramatics. So here he's going under Farben, but produced by Jan Jelnik. And yeah, just a really cool single. Similar a bit to the compact stuff I was showing earlier.
Interesting. That's it? Okay.
That's it for this round.
Okay. The cover was kind of cool. I like the cover, and then
Like
I
a
was
Xerox
surprised when you
thing.
said it was a single. So
Yeah. There's another one. The second single of this is pink. It's got a pink cover, but similar kind of style.
yeah, all right, okay. All right, now I think Chris might have this. Maybe, I don't know. But this was 1999 was the debut year of a blues rock duo. White Stripes.
Yeah,
wow.
I have it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I have the entire White Stripes studio album. So
Oh wow. Okay, I've got. I think I have two of theirs. And so they definitely went with the. I kind of, they were going for the whole peppermint thing, but I also kind of think, all right, but they were precursors to the Black Keys, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Black
Yeah.
Keys, they didn't
Two-piece.
come out until 2000 and something. And
it was only a
Otherwise-
year or two later, I think. But
yeah,
I think the White Stripes were first out with a record.
yeah. And but again, the White Stripes, like the Black Keys, these were bands that when they were releasing material, I was unaware of it at the time, and then I heard it someplace else, and I'm kind of like, because there's when it comes to music genres, blues rock and blues in general is that's my wheelhouse. I love that music, and so whenever I hear something like that has that blues rock vibe to it, I'm like, wow, this is how did I miss this? And the White Stripes, like the Black Keys, was that kind of a band. How did I miss them?
That had a hit though. Wasn't that like the Seven Nation Army or something? Was that their video for that one?
Seven Nation Army was a few years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was no video for this one or no hit.
The-
'Cause I never heard of them in
At
'99
And at
either.
that time too, I wasn't connected to. Well, I guess up until 2001, I was. I had cable TV, but I really wasn't watching.
No.
I wasn't watching. 120 Minutes, I don't think, was even on anymore.
Mm.
Maybe it was, but MTV was starting to switch to other forms of entertainment. It was no longer,
Yeah.
It's just
music.
TV shows now.
And
Yeah,
I was in graduate school and I was poor and I didn't have cable at that point.
Yeah, I was the same. But I mean, like you're going around town and you go to a restaurant and there's a video on or something or radio.
right.
And that's how I heard of White Stripes
But-
first,
but
but probably
I-
not '99.
I pretty much knew the White Stripes right away. So
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that
That was your
of course I've heard-
wheelhouse.
Of course, I've heard Seven Nation Army, but I think I've never been a fan of White Stripes. To no one's surprise, I have a hard time listening to their sound.
I like them. They're not bad. I have like techno, kind of almost cheesy like house remixes of White Stripes for the dance floor of Seven Nation Army and all
There was such weird controversy about them too. Like, were they brother and sister, or were they married, or there was,
yeah. The deal was that they were trying to palm them off as brother and sister when really they were. I think they were already I think they were already divorced by the time the band
Yeah.
came.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got to give a shout out to his bowl cut on the cover of that. Very 90s kind of like Britpop kind of mop top on that cover, right? He got a
from
real
Detroit.
90s look. Yeah. Baggy pants, too.
And from
It's coming
Detroit.
back. Styles come back, bring out my
Yeah.
baggy pants.
Now, Seven Nation Army, which came out on Elephant in 2003, that's
Okay.
under the been overplayed, don't really need to hear it anymore song.
Yeah. I never owned it, so I mean, I would be partial. I'd pick up a White Stripes record if I could get a cheap copy, used copy somewhere. But I do love the Black Keys. Yeah, I would probably say I like the Black Keys more.
Yeah,
reasons
I
like
have
that.
to read that the one I heard about Black Keys, I prefer much rather Black Keys before.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair.
Well, I like the White Stripes better, so
Okay, well there we go.
But
we
you know,
we
it's
did a
very
vote here.
similar in that you've got just a guitar and a drum. You know, and
Yeah.
that was such to me something that was that stood out, and also with the Black Keys. But I remember the first time I heard the Black Keys. I was in a coffee shop in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I'm like, wow, who are these people? And you know, they told me who it was, and I'm like, wow, what's this record from? And then they said, like, you know, 2003 or something like that, and I'm like, this is like 2017, and I'm like, holy shit, how did I miss this? So
Yeah, I'm like you, Richard. I bought my Black Keys much later too. I got like 2 records, and I missed them when they first came out. Chris probably knew when they were first coming out, but
yeah, I've got a couple Black Keys. I don't have like the White Stripes. I have all their studio albums, Black Keys, and I think I only have like 2 of them. So.
okay.
I have 3 Black Keys and 2 White Stripes. So, but in his new solo stuff, I haven't really listened to it.
Jack White.
Yeah,
I have one single, like a 7-inch. I mean, he's kind of become like a kind of an enemy figure now, right? Because he owns his own pressing plant, and I don't know where he stands. Like, do people love him or hate him, or he's a king of the underground?
yeah. There's something, you know, and I haven't paid that close attention, but there's something about him that's like ambiguous.
Yeah, what's the story, Chris?
So I've been to his. So the Third Man Records, there's one in Detroit and one in Nashville, and I live fairly close to Nashville. So like there's the store in Nashville. So he's like into all these quirky things, like these record your own single booth, which was broken the day I was there. Yeah. I saw Mudhoney play a live show there, and it's one of those ones where they record it as they're going, and they record direct to acetate and then press albums. And when you go to a show there, it's in their basement, which only holds a couple hundred people. If you go to the show there and then buy the live album, you get it a couple months later. Only the people who went to the show get the one that's black and blue vinyl. So it's like black half, blue the other half. It's
all about the color variants, eh? Like
yeah. You have to. Only the people who went to the show get the opportunity to buy that one, and then they're always really expensive on Discogs. And then the ones that they sell to everyone else are just like usually a standard black.
I don't know. You know what it is? And I got this thing, like I was just at a craft sale like 2 weeks ago. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's kind of this tension between like there's DIY, do it yourself. And then there's this kind of commercialization. This guy's like almost an example of that. He's kind of like commercialized DIY. Like, you know, like.
Yeah. Is it something that stops people from doing it yourself and do commercial music?
Well, it's like, you know, like what you're describing, Chris. Like, you know, it's kind of like underground. It's like a small person show, and it's very collector. But then it's like kind of it's mass produced, or I don't know. Like there's color. Anyway,
I mean, it's kind of one of those weird things. It's like he was in such a huge band.
Yes.
Then,
yeah. So he's well known.
Right. So you can't really go back to being like. I guess you can't go all the way back to being
indie.
Like
completely
indie at that point, but. And I
didn't realize he was connected with Third Man Records.
Do a lot of reissues.
Oh yeah, that's
early
his label.
Blues and world music. There's like the Greek folk music. They did a Greek folk music comp. That's pretty cool. And
yeah, he's got cool taste. Yeah, I guess it's just I get that weird disconnect between like, is this because he's rich? I guess it's like,
I mean,
he's rich, but
he's admittedly a weird guy. And I remember when I went to the show there. There's like this group of like Jack White fanboys that are like really weird
that look like him and dress like him.
I've been told that like pretty much anytime they have a show there, those people are there whether they like the group that's playing or not.
Okay, right.
Because there's like the Mudhoney show. Me and a bunch of other people are trying to get into it because we liked Mudhoney, and then they're all they're all kind of like,
So it was his label then that reissued this Stooges from the Goose
Oh,
Lake,
okay.
because this is Third Man Records.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's very trendy. That's the thing. That's the word too. Yeah, he's made kind of like indie underground trendy a little bit.
Interesting.
Stooges are great. Is that a good pressing? I mean,
Well, this was a tape
man.
that the original recording of their show was discovered in one of the what's the story? I did a video about this,
oh yeah,
but it was like discovered this tape from the show. It was a what do you call it?
Bootleg.
A soundboard recording.
yeah.
So he got somebody. Well, here's the story. It's inside here. And who was it that wrote this information up? Was it liner notes by Joan Lelsky or something like that? But anyway, they found the tape, and it was the son of the guy who was running the soundboard.
Yeah.
And after he died, I think that's the story. He found the tape like in his bedroom under the bed or something like that. And then he sent it to Third Man Records, and then Third Man Records eventually got the permission from Iggy to go ahead, because it sounds like a bootleg.
Yeah.
You know, it has that kind of feel to it because it's a really rough recording.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, from an archival kind of standpoint or point of view perspective, it's a great recording because it also puts to bed the argument that there was no bass. Because there was always this like thing that somehow there was no bass because the bass player wasn't playing at all or whatever. This was when the Stooges kind of collapsed and fell apart. You know, I think this was like one of their last performances before they whatever. And oh God, the whole thing, they were like on so many drugs that it was just crazy shit. Because I remember I was living in Michigan at that time when the Goose Lake Festival happened. It was a scandal. It was a huge, the governor, you know, went on TV to talk about how we weren't going to let this happen again in Michigan, you know, to our children, you know, and that kind of thing. It was just, it was a huge thing. And I was like 12 years old, and I'm like going, you know, it looks
what
like
is this rock music?
Yeah.
Don't stop doing that now.
So, yeah, this was like, because this was 1970. It was right. It was after both Woodstock and Altamont. And it also had a rotating stage so that one band could set up while the other band was playing.
Yeah. Right.
And then they also built a moat around it to keep the crowd away from the stage.
I bet that didn't work out the way they
Right,
thought.
because
I
Iggy,
bet you, yeah, exactly.
Iggy, there's
People
footage
jumping
of
in the water.
people holding Iggy up, you know, and he's standing on their hands. It's not like he's body surfing the crowd.
Yeah.
They're holding him up, and you know, while Iggy tore that fence down.
Thank
so
God he was a
anyway,
skinny guy.
not a
lot
great
to
sounding
lift up.
record, but definitely an important recording
Cool.
from
Cool.
that
Cool guy.
time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love the Stooges.
who's next?
I think I'm next.
Chris.
All right, yeah, I think so too. All right.
All right. I'm going to beat Jorgen to the punch with some 9 Inch Nails here.
Oh yeah, really.
So this is The Fragile.
Big album.
Yeah. Again, I just got this. This is like a triple LP reissue. I had the CD back in the day. At some point, I lost the CD, and then I just finally got around to getting this record again. I think I've only spun this once or twice. I've literally only had this a couple of weeks in this format. So,
Deluxe. Very deluxe
yeah.
edition. Does it have extra mixes, or is just the album over two records?
No.
Is there a hit from that album? I don't know.
Was there a hit from that album?
Because the only one I know
Today
is
the World
Little
Went
Hate
Away,
Machine.
maybe? I seem to remember that song.
Okay.
The only Nine Inch Nails I remember is Pretty Little Hate Machine.
Head Like a Hole.
Yeah.
That's my favorite still, the first album, but
Yeah, I would still go with that too. But
and now he does like movie soundtracks and stuff a lot too, right? Like he's probably got an Oscar and stuff.
yeah,
Trent. Oh yeah, I don't know any songs from that one, but I have friends who are like hardcore, industrial, goth, Nine Inch Nails fans,
yeah.
and they would have every album. I'm sure you paid a lot of money for that reissue too. It's probably like a $50 record, huh?
I think it was 38. So
U.S. Yeah.
30.
50
Yeah, so it'd be
Canadian.
about 50 for you. Yeah. So
Very cool, man. Bet you
Yeah.
there's some cool sounds on that.
and I think that's the most recent Nine Inch Nails I have. I haven't gotten anything of theirs since. So
I'm looking at the track listing and I'm like, holy shit! No wonder it's on 2 vinyl. It's like 20 songs on this thing.
this one's on 3.
3, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Like on the CD, they probably maxed out the length of a CD, like 90 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a double CD and
Okay.
a double cassette. So there you go.
Amazing. All right. Well, Jorgen.
I am
gonna
holding
follow up
back on
Nine
one
Inch
that
Nails
Morgan
with-
might have though, but I'm holding.
I've got something Jorgen might have too. This is like a game to see who has which one, right? So
And
let's see, Jorgen.
I'm the only one who has stuff that no one has.
Oh no, we all have stuff no one else has.
Yeah, we all have that.
I'm showing something that was divided the fans in for or against. This is not something I listened to in 1999. I discovered this way later on. This is actually Richie Blackmore and Blackmore's Night under Violet Moon. Some say that he sold his soul because his love for what's the name? Sarah Night?
I think it's Candace Night. I think so.
Candice Night. Sorry. Went to this is more to the Irish folk music style, combined with a lot of little elements of pop and rock. And this is not even, this is very early in the career. I think this is their first album. I might be wrong. So this is very early in their career. Even better melodies in the future come.
Wait, you said it's Richie Blackmore?
Yeah, Richie Blackmore.
Not the Deep Purple?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very same.
Oh, all right. Wow. Okay.
Deep Purple, Rainbow. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he married Candice Night, and she was a folk music singer. So he, out of pure love, he did a project Blackmore's Night, who plays folk music with the elements of pop and rock. And I like Blackmore's Night. A lot of the stuff is very well made, very, very great melodies. I'm usually no fan of Irish folk music, but this is really, really great. I'm looking forward to more Blackmore's Night in the future. This is the only one I have so far.
Wasn't there like elements of like medieval music in the Blackmore's Night
Yep.
as well? So,
Yep.
Well, that's something I'm definitely going to look up because I do like Irish folk music.
Irish medieval folk music.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
And Candace must be a saint because she seems to be the only person that can keep Richie Blackmore's ego under control.
Yes, I remember when he was so pissed that when Deep Purple couldn't sell out a show when the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin were selling out shows. And I think that's when he threw one of his big fits and he like disbanded the band, screw this.
The interesting thing is that Blackmore's Night has actually done covers of some Swedish songs, also some Swedish 90s songs that many today actually in Sweden think it's cheesy. I love them, but many Swedish fans think they're cheesy. But Richie Blackmore didn't fear one bit. He just went out, asked them, "Can I do a cover for that?" They said, "Of course you can," and he did it. So the man has no he has no limits.
He has no editor, that's for sure. Yeah, he's in charge.
And I like Deep Purple also. So I like both Black Moth Night and Deep Purple.
Well, yeah, I'll definitely be looking for something like that. If it's on vinyl or if it's only on CD. Do you
That I
know?
would not know if it's on vinyl. I take what I get.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jason, what you have for us?
Okay, all right. I am going to go with two massive hits here, and I think Jorgen is going to have he's definitely going to know them. He may have one of them at least. We're going to go stateside here again, U.S. A massive record for 1999. I'm glad yesterday I was going through my vinyl again and picking stuff off the shelf because some stuff I hadn't put in Discogs, and I didn't even have this in my Discogs, even though I've owned it forever. It's got the promo hole down here. It's called 2001, but it came out in 99, and it was a total game changer. Of course, it's the second album by Dr. Dre. The Chronic was massive when it came out. You know, producer of NWA, producer of all kinds of things, right? And by now we all know. This album totally took it to the next level. So Snoop Dogg is on here and all the guys. And they were even playing this at like rave clubs, like in the... So what happened is in Montreal, there used to be a rave club, so the big house techno DJs would be in the big room, and the small room was like the chill out kind of room. Well, the chill out room went from like loungy drum and bass and stuff to hip hop after a while. Because hip hop, like I said, the commercial hip hop was so big in the late 90s. And this album was big.
Let's just say that the day when I buy an entire album with Dr. Dre, I know that something is wrong with me.
See, Jorgen, I always think that you're going to have the pop stuff, but yeah, it's true. This is not Robin. This is it's dance music, but it's with rap. So I guess
let's
you're not
just say that
hip-hop fan.
soul is one thing, hip hop is not my thing. Like I say, rap music. When it comes to rap music, there was some Swedish comedian who said that it's very strange listening to a guy sounding like he's reading the phone book backwards.
Well, it's a different style of vocals. I mean, if you heard death metal, it's another style of vocals too.
Yeah,
Another thing that's really funny about the 90s too, right? Like look at all the weed references, right? And like of course that was illegal back then. You know, we've come so far from the 90s, right? I mean, this would have been controversial. I guess in some states it still is. But. Okay,
Yeah.
here's the inner. I'll show one more here. There's the inner sleeve from the Dr. Dre. Look at him there with all his production gear. Really, all you need is this one machine, the MPC player. It's kind of like a sampler, basically, and then you take all these records and you sample them and you add beats. And here's one that Jorgen has shown, I think, before.
Not that one, but the one before that.
Yeah, I didn't have the album on vinyl, the Never Say Never, but this is a single from it. This came out in '99. Almost doesn't count. Look at how way too skinny Brandy is in this picture. This is a really cool single too because it's got a remix by DJ Premier from Gangstar that I showed last week. So I'm a huge Brandy fan. So there you go. Nice labels too, though, in 1999. Those are the commercial picks.
That is one thing when it comes to soul music that at that time with here in Sweden they tried to make soul and hip hop into one unit. That it was pretty much the same. In my opinion, I love soul music to death, but it's not hip hop. I hard time listening to hip hop. I separate them, but few people do. I don't understand how people can put them. Of course, they come from the same genre, but still they're not two different kind of music styles. In my opinion.
Beats, the production, yeah. Chris, you've been silent. What do you think of Dr. Dre and Brandy?
I like some Dr. Dre. I can't say Brandy, wasn't that a 70s pop song? Brandy, she's a fine girl.
Yeah, now this is some R&B, late 90s. And then she had a TV show, I think, too, for a while.
Yeah, I'll have to say Brandy's not really in my wheelhouse.
I'll pass on the Brandy, yeah.
I swear that I have somewhere in here, I've got a dance mix that's got a Brandy song, and I was trying to look for it, but I can't find it, so.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now this one surprised me when it showed up in the list of in my Discogs as being from 1999, because this artist I associate with the 1970s. But he ended up releasing this. It's a really great album, and we're talking about the if that's the right word, the inimitable, Tom Waits, and
Yeah, he's unstoppable, really.
the
Still
mule
alive.
I thought you
variation.
were going to show Tom Jones.
A different Tom.
This is an incredible album, that he released in 1999. I was like, yeah, I thought for sure that this was just a 1999 reissue, but no, this is when it was released. And I mean, there's such great songs on here, like I like the song "What's He Building." What's he building in there? That whole thing where he's talking about his neighbor and what is his neighbor doing and what's going on, and opening up with "Big in Japan." It's just, I think, I'm not sure if this was. It's not my first Tom Waits, although I think it might have been one of my first Tom Waits records that I eventually got into my collection. I mean, I knew Tom Waits, and I had some CDs of Tom Waits, but
Yeah, that's pretty
might have
late
been-
Tom Waits.
this might have been one of the first vinyl issues of Tom Waits, and then I went back and got, In the Heart of Saturday Night and the other ones, which were from the 70s. But yeah, great songs on here. Just, a voice that is so recognizable. And I should remove the records from inside the sleeve. That's how long it's been since I played this. When I think about that, because normally I store the records outside of the sleeves so I can avoid ring wear. And also, I don't need to take the cover out all the time. I just need to take the record out to play. But yeah, Tom Waits, amazing late career recording that is just as solid and true to what he does as the material he did in the 70s.
Did you guys ever see him in the movies, the Jim Jarmusch movies, like Down by Law, and I think he was in Coffee and Cigarettes, that movie.
No, and there's that one.
Those are cool
I think
indie
I
movies
have one
where
of
he's-
he did that. Who was it? He did that record with a duet with. She's a country singer.
Diana Krall.
No, oh hell.
I wouldn't know country that well. But he's such a character. I mean, he's ripe for being a movie character, Tom Waits. I mean,
Oh yeah.
cool guy. He's
He,
very
uh,
much like a hip hop guy, actually. Like hip hop guys, I find they're like such characters. They could be movie characters. Same thing with Tom Waits.
I've got to look that up now because I've got The Heart of Saturday Night. But what's that one that he did with Crystal Gale? That's it. The soundtrack from One from the Heart. He was on that soundtrack.
Big in Japan, is that the cover of Alphaville song?
I'm sorry, say again.
Find some stuff.
Big in Japan, is that the Alphaville cover?
Probably not.
No, it's not a cover.
It would be fun to hear though.
Tom Waits is one of those people I know by reputation, but I've never bought any records of.
The problem I have with Tom Waits is that I think it's too slow. I have a hard time listening to his raspy voice also, so it's not my thing at all.
Wow, he is such a I can't think of the word. The word iconoclast is coming to mind, but that's not the right word. But yeah, he's yeah. he's one of those singer songwriters that is so uncategorable, I think is a good way to describe him. So and Tuco here, great in Fishing with John, which I don't know that one, but all right. So what's the next Y2K thing we got coming from you, Chris?
All right, so we're going to show some of the neo soul. So we have Michelle. Her last name is very hard to say. Ndeko Ocello, the album Bitter. Notice the Run Out Groove, first time on vinyl. I just got this year. So this is one of those ones that came out on vinyl for the first time in the year 2022. It's a double album. 3 sides are the original tracks, and then the 4th side is used as instrumental versions of some of the tracks, because it was one of those things that was really too long to be on a single LP, but not really long enough to be a double. So, because it was obviously sequenced for a CD. So
yeah, I have a CD of hers that, and I can't remember now which one it is. And it was a DJ promo CD. I should look that up.
yeah.
But
and random trivia, we have the same birthday. She's exactly 1 year older than me.
Okay.
So
I have that situation with Tom Hanks. Same birthday, but he was born the year before me.
yeah.
And now he's doing a remake of the Swedish movie. Is it? Oh no! Oh, it's about the old man, the cantankerous old man who goes and talks to the grave of his wife, and how these immigrants move in to his little where he keeps track, tries to keep everybody in order. And what's the name of that movie? Great film, but Tom Hanks is doing an Americanized version of it. Anyway,
I had to Google it.
Yeah, I just watched it on Netflix. Damn it. And yeah, I hope you find it, because it's
It's
Otto.
a man called in Sweden it's called En man som heter.
I'm sorry, you broke up for a second. In Sweden, it's called what?
In Sweden, the movie is called En man som heter Ove, a man called Ove. But
Uva, yeah, Uva, yeah. So it's a great film. I love that film, and so
I've only heard it. I haven't seen the Swedish original.
oh, you should watch it. It's a very good film.
It's based on a book.
So Tom Hanks is going to be doing an Americanized version of it, and I think it's probably going to be pretty good.
The Swedish actor who plays his part is named Rolf Lassgård. That's the actor who plays the Swedish his Swedish part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're up to with you, Jorgen, right?
I'm going to show 2 because the 2 are in a genre that I was deeply in love with in 1999. And we're talking Big Beat. I showed Fatboy Slim in 98. And it continued. I bought Fatboy Slim singles. And when this came, it was magic. Chemical Brothers Surrender. And I still consider Hey Boy, Hey Girl one of the best songs ever. I like the groove. I like the fantasy in it. It's an amazing song. And this is a really sound landscape of drums and you never know what's going to happen when you listen to it. It's unpredictable. It's fantastic. Chemical Brothers album. Also, Noel Gallagher is on guest here, as in the previous one. And after that, it also came another band that I first had said this is definitely not my taste when I'm talking about Dub came in '97. But when this album came, it knocked me down, and it is Getting High on Your Own Supply, but by Apollo 440. Also a big beat masterpiece, especially the song "Stop the Rock, Can't Stop the Rock." You need to stop the rock, can't stop the rock. It's amazing, groovy album with a whole lot of drums, a whole lot of fantasy, and two big beat masterpieces, in my opinion. Chemical
I've
Brothers.
got some Chemical Brothers that somebody burned a CD the night, but I didn't pull those, the burned ones. That's copies that somebody made for me, but I can't remember which Chemical Brothers I have.
I have a Chemical Brothers that was probably from 2 or 3 years before, like 97 or so. I'm not remembering the album title right off the top of my head.
But that other one now that one I have not heard of. So that is that's interesting. So I like this. I like some Chemical Brothers, but there is, and I can't remember which one it is, but there is one of them that didn't age very well, but a lot of their stuff did. So
That's the one I have.
Yeah, I showed that one in '97.
Right. Okay. I thought it was a couple years before.
yeah. So gosh, I wish I could remember now. I don't think it's the one you just showed, Jorgen, but the cover seems kind of familiar. So maybe it is that one. Maybe I'll go look it up while Jason is on screen here. Jason, are you ready for us?
He's muted.
Yeah, I see he's muted. He's probably got a customer. So, and I don't have. Where is my book of CDs? Let me see here. All right, it might be in here. What Chemical Brothers do I have that they burned for me? Cars, can. Chemical Brothers, Dig Your Own Hole.
Yeah, that's the one I just showed.
That's
Okay.
the same.
And then the other one I have is Come With Us.
Yeah, that is the following album.
Okay. All right. Yeah, somebody burned those for me, so and I don't have.
I only have.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no problem.
Just doing a little.
Well, it is your
business.
turn. What have you got for us?
Oh, okay. All right. I've already done the commercial stuff, right? Okay, I'll go with a couple of big house tracks from '99. And maybe somewhere you heard these songs, Richard, in the nightclubs. First one, Madison Avenue. Don't Call Me Baby. This
Yes,
was...
Don't Call Me Baby. Yes,
I recognize that. I recognize that title.
Anyway, I'm not going to say I'm a horrible singer, but yeah, this was a huge track in all the clubs, and big vocal, female vocal on it. A lot of fun. Double pack. Armin van Buuren remixes. Armin van Buuren, not Armin van Helden, but Armin van Buuren sounds kind of Swedish, doesn't it? That name?
Hey, he's Dutch.
Dutch. Okay, so I was close, but
Dutch trans producer.
And another really big house track of the same year, "Sing It Back" by Moloko. I think this one's more stateside, less Euro sounding, more US sounding. Moloko, "Sing It Back," and lots of remixes on this one as well. I think Todd Terry remix on here, Shay, Maurice remix, Herbert, Boris de Lagos, really cool producers on this. Very nice, soulful kind of vocal. What else we got here for house music? I'll just go through the house ones here. Ron Trent. This is some quality house music right here. Ron Trent, I think out of Chicago. He's U.S. for sure. More on the kind of tribal sound to this, deep house, deep and tribal. Single. And let's see, one more here. We got this one. Is on Glasgow Underground. So a Scottish label, but U.S. producers, Mateo and Matos, The Real Thing. Again, really great soulful house. Nice female vocal. More on the sample kind of sound for this single. But so some really good house records in '99. And you know what's funny? All the stuff I'm showing you, by the way, I pretty much bought in '99. I just realized like there's not. Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I got a few more left for the next round. But I don't think there's anything I bought from 90, like that's 99 that I bought like later. This is all stuff I bought then.
I definitely remember that song, Don't Call Me Baby.
Yeah, that was a big hit. I'm sure they had a music video for that one even, probably.
Oh, yeah. And I'm just trying to think. I know that's got a...
It's got a real cheesy hook.
I was trying to track down the CD single of that.
Yeah.
Because it was, I mean...
It was big.
How do I want to describe it? I mean, it's not a great song, but it's just one of those songs that...
it sticks in your head.
It's fun.
It's got a hook. It's a real hook on it, yeah. It's cheesy a little bit.
And, I remember I think I remember the video, too. That was pretty sassy.
Jorgen, you remember that one too? Madison Avenue.
Yeah, I remember the name of the band. I think I probably if I would hear it, I would probably recognize it, but I can't. I only recognize the name of the band right now.
Okay.
Well, I don't have any more.
Moloko, I remember. I wasn't that thrilled about Moloko at that time, but I recognize them as well.
Well, I've got enough for one more round, Richard. If you want, I've got 2 more hip hop records to show. But
okay, well, we can skip me because I don't have any more. That's
he's on
empty. I was pretty skint for 1999.
I have 1 vinyl and 3 CDs left. I can do them all.
Then I can have all to myself.
Oh no! Oh my God!
So I could do them all.
I can
do them
Chris.
all. I can do them all in 1 round if you want me to, or not. What do you think, Richard?
No, you can do 2 rounds if you want, because I think
I can split up mine.
We don't want Jorgen to become a megalomaniac here as he,
Okay. Well, I'm holding back the one that I think Jorgen has. So I'm going to show 2 CDs this round, and then save the CD and the album for the next round. So first of all, this is one that Jorgen does not have. Rage Against the Machine, The Battle of Los Angeles.
How would you know?
He should have it. He should have it.
Show it to me then.
It's not Swedish. That's the problem, right? So,
show it to me, Jorgen.
I want to see the Swedish pressing of it.
Yeah.
The Swedish version.
What an album! Yeah, what an album.
So you got Testify, Guerrilla Radio, Calm Like a Bomb. I mean, I know a lot of people think of Rage Against the Machine as a 1-album band, and I think this is as strong as the debut was. So
they're a 2-album band.
Well, they've got that. They would be a 3-album band because they've got that other one in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I get them mixed up. Isn't there another band called Rage or something?
There might be. I'm not sure. And then I'll show something that's completely unlike Rage Against the Machine, but I would be shocked if any of you guys have this. So John Strom with Vestavia.
No.
I don't know if any of you know who John Strom is.
No.
I have that one.
Okay, cool.
Just kidding.
So John Strom was in the Blake Babies, and then after the Blake Babies, he had a couple other bands. In '94, I showed the Velo Deluxe, where like half of it sounded like grunge, and then the other half sounded more like sort of a rootsy indie rock, and then he completely went the rootsy indie rock route with this particular record. But then the Blake Babies got back together briefly after this. So this is a very obscure record. It came out on Flat Earth Records out of Indianapolis, Indiana, because he's from Indiana. But somehow I have the German pressing of it. but I know I only paid a couple bucks for it, so it somehow got back to the U.S. I didn't pay an exorbitant shipping to get it or anything.
I have heard of Flat Earth Records. Don't
So-
have anything on Flat Earth Records, but I've heard of that label.
Yeah, it's like indie alternative stuff from like Southern Indiana. So
Indiana wants me, Lord.
like people
I
from like
can't go back
Bloomington or
now.
Indianapolis could be on that label. So
There's a hit from what, 1970? Indiana wants me. Anyway, all right. So Jorgen,
Well, my second final run is a couple of CD singles from another genre that became big to me for the following years. I ordered a compilation series that was big here in Sweden called Maximum Dance. That came once a month in the mail, and it contained dance music, once a CD a month, and I was extremely happy to have it. And with that, I got into trance music, vocal trance. So I bought a whole lot of CD singles with vocal trance, European vocal trance, and dance music. So we have DJ Visage and Clarissa, Return Time to Say Goodbye. It is that song with the original is from a movie. If I'm not wrong. Mike Coughlin, On My Way. We have Light Force, who took Nick Kershaw's The Riddle and turned it into Take Your Time, The Riddle 99. 80s were popular to take and then bring it into a nice trance mix. And here, this is in original. This is one of the most classic and greatest new wave synth pop songs. But it works so well also as a trance version, Mythos and DJ Cosmos version of Real Life Send Me an Angel. And they did also trance version of Unchained Melody. DJ Sakin and Friends Again, Protect Your Mind, Braveheart. Trance version of the theme from the movie. And also same DJ Sakin and Friends with Dragonfly. Last week I said a little bit wrong. I said that the trance version of Albinoni's Adagio with William Orbit came 98. It came 1999, and this is it. William Orbit, Barber's Adagio for string. Sorry, not Albinoni. And this one is maybe the most famous one, Darude Sandstorm.
Oh yeah, I know that one. That's a huge trance song.
Yeah.
Darude.
And this is
I
a
remember
Swedish
Darude.
trance album that is really great. It's a 2 CD set. It's a Swedish band called Earthbound, Essence of Life. A really, really nice groovy trance, Eurotrance trance style. So trance music for me became big in the 99, 2000,
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, when we get into the 2000s, I have some Ministry of Sound trance compilations that were released that I do really like, and I'm glad I picked them up. So there was the Hotel Costas series too. Then there was the Cafe Del Mar. Have you ever listened to any of those, Jurgen?
I have one Cafe Del Mar, I think.
That was a
It's
big
more-
series, yeah.
It's more later on when they became more ambient instead of trance.
And then there was another one that's there was a third series too that was similar, but it was jazzier, little higher tempo, but some coffee. Now I've got to find it here.
Yeah, these are commercial, almost commercial electronic.
All right, so
CD
there's
series.
Cafe Del Mar, the Hotel Costas, and yeah,
England,
Saint
yeah.
Germain de Pré Cafe. That series.
Saint Germain, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, Saint Germain is actually a producer from Paris or from France.
yeah. Well,
They did
and the
some
Hotel
nice deep
Costa
house.
series was Stefan. What's his name? Stefan Pompognac.
I can't find it right now.
I don't know how to pronounce the French.
Well, this became almost like a whole micro genre within house, like sort of deep jazzy house, like cafe style house, lounge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, when I have guests over and I want music in the background,
Right.
it's perfect. Because I can put that on in my 5 CD changer, and we've got really great background music. And it's great to listen to, not as background music, but it's also really great as background music when somebody.
Yeah. It's almost like what smooth jazz became. It was almost like the modern version of smooth jazz. Electronic, right? But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It is sort of background, almost music a little bit.
And it's also kind of danceable. It's
Yeah, you can listen to it as well. I mean, you can pay attention to it as well.
Yeah.
Just like smooth jazz, you can also pay attention if you want.
Mixes of Paper Aeroplane, and they did some mixes of Edith Piaf, and yeah, put a dance groove around them. I like it. Good stuff. It's very
Palatable.
Yes. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Inoffensive, very inoffensive.
Yes.
Like no one would be offended if you put that in the background.
Stunty would be offended.
Stunty would be a little bit.
So
he's not here. So.
all right. So
Okay, my second last.
yes.
Okay, I'll go back to hip hop here in New York City, and that Raucous label. A lot of glare here, sorry, but there's the logo, Raucous. So this is a single off the Sound Bombing 2 compilation. Again, this is the underground minimalist style of hip hop. Talib Kweli's on here, and a little guy that some people might know named Mos Def. So Mos Def is probably one of the biggest stars that came out of this label. And if you can see there is the compilation, Sound Bombing 2. There is a white guy down there too, and that is good old Eminem. Even he got involved. It comes with a postcard. This is just to show this the 1990s, right? So there's a little thing called the internet, but we don't have social media or anything. We got to send in a postcard. Do you like hip hop?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear more?
I like the things that date albums to a certain.
I know, right?
So like stuff like that, the enhanced CD, which would be like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
If they have their MySpace address, it's like 2008 or so.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, for a long time I loved going into like thrift stores and just to see when CDs kind of ended, because you go to a thrift store and you could see like, oh, they don't have anything newer than 2012 or something, right? Or when did the CD stop becoming popular, 2015 maybe? I know in some countries it still continues, but the vinyl thing kind of took over for a lot of bands.
Yeah, and
Or streaming.
At least in my thrift stores, you don't really see, even in the CDs, not much stuff past the 90s, because I think most of the people that were still buying them aren't at the point they're getting rid of them yet, or aren't at the point where they've died and someone else is getting rid of them.
Yeah.
So much of Frank Zappa's catalog, really was only available on CDs, and especially the You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore series. A lot of the subsequent releases of live shows were only released on CD. Now they're starting to, perhaps, we're seeing more being released on vinyl. But even the best one of You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore, the Helsinki concert, that had a very limited vinyl run, and that's a pricey record. I have it on CD. I don't have it on vinyl. But I think the only one that was broadly released on vinyl was the sampler, the number one. So yeah, there were some that, as we talked about, that some material that was only available on CD well into the 2000s. But I was trying to picture when Reckless Records here in Chicago, there was a point when you walked in there and the vinyl selection was pretty big, but CDs definitely dominated the store. And then there was a point where vinyl started to dominate and more and more. And that started around 2012, 13, I'm thinking. You know, there was a lot more stuff was coming out. There were reissues, and more people were selling vinyl collections. So there was a lot more used vinyl starting to show up in these stores. And then, boom, the vinyl boom happened, and now the silliest damn records are some of the most expensive things. You know, it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was good in a way. Thank God for vinyl, because otherwise it'd all be streaming or on Bandcamp, right? And then
right, in just
spaces.
Awful sounding. And
but then, I don't know. It's weird because some bands, I think it's better that they just have a digital release. Like, it gets very indulgent if you think about like pressing a vinyl for like your demo tape or whatever. I mean, is it worth to be on vinyl? And vinyl's expensive now, and so. It's a weird calculus.
There are some artists who very independent that I like their music, and they would love to do a vinyl pressing, but the expense is really prohibitive for them. What I don't understand is why are there artists in 2022 who are releasing new material on cassette?
Oh yeah, dude, that's the thing, man. Tapes are back. I love tapes. I mean, punk shows, it never went away for punk and metal. And I mean, I think it's kind of that storyline we're talking about, which is if you can't afford vinyl, you know, make CDs, make cassettes, back to DIY.
Yeah.
Because people want to have a physical product when they go to a show to buy, you know, to show support.
Yeah, like Jason's saying, I think nowadays I think some of like your very sort of underground people who can't do vinyl will do CD or cassette. Like it used to be, like, you know, like you'd like 7-inch records. Like if it's major label, it's always 45, but a lot of times punk ones would be 33 because it's not better for sound quality. It's just that they're broken, that they
cram the whole album on a 7-inch. Yeah, that was their album.
Cassette is definitely on its way back, and also our CDs. I checked that a band that I have shown a couple of times, a Swedish group Kent, that was big in the 90s in Sweden. All of a sudden,
tape label.
All of a sudden,
cassettes are coming back.
All of a sudden, their albums on CD went for like $25 on the auction sites.
Yeah, vinyl's becoming a luxury item, guys. I mean,
well, right. There's going to be a resurgence in CDs again for sure, because it is.
Oh yeah,
it has the negative side. I love that vinyl is back. Make no mistake about it. But it has also the negative side that all of a sudden, each and every thrift store, flea market, think that just because you have a vinyl, no matter if it is religious, classical, believe that they're sitting on some kind of a black gold, and they take way over price for it because it is vinyl, and vinyl are hip. No, vinyl is not that hip that every vinyl is hip again. You have to have some check on it. What is hip and what is not.
It leads to some easy, low-hanging fruit comedy material for my thrifting videos.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it.
Around.
I had to argue
if people starting to take vinyl for granted, that every vinyl is big, we take big money for it, then people are getting more and more tired to pay this over expensive price and start streaming again, and vinyl becomes unhip again. So that is what I'm afraid
you
of.
go up and
If you
down.
don't check on what is pricey or not, people are going to get bored with it.
Vinyl could
Yeah.
crash. I mean, comic books did, baseball cards did.
Yeah.
You know, in the 90s and 2000s.
And like what Ed said, vinyl's perfect if you have the space. So I was in my 20s in the 1990s, and I was all CDs, but
Yeah.
I was moving quite a bit, living in very small places. I
Same
know
here.
Stunty was always in vinyl. I think Jason, you were always
Always,
vinyl.
yeah.
But you guys
Because I was
were
DJing, so
and I was
had to.
DJ, so
didn't have a chance. But
Was
you know,
it-
it's funny. Like, I run a DJ shop now. I mean, I have lots of DJ records, but DJs never come here to shop. They all play digital files, right? Like, if they come here to buy a DJ record, it's more just to have a physical copy of it, of a song that they've already been playing many, many times on digital.
And the interesting thing is, I know from when I worked at with records in thrift stores, we got in DJ 12 inches and those kind of stuff, and it was extremely hard to sell on
Yeah.
thrift stores. People wasn't
$1,
interested at
$1.
all to buy 12 inches with mixes because it was
Well,
the DJ
because dance
problem.
music has such a short shelf life too, right? So what's hot? I mean, if you're a DJ playing every week, I mean, you after 3 months it's old and you're on to the next one.
But we're talking about the stuff that is not exactly mainstream.
Yeah,
if you're
even
not
underground
into
stuff.
that-
Well, there's such hype around this now. I have a niece who it's inherited, so to speak, a record collection of a couple hundred records from somebody. So she was asking me about, how does she go about, selling and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, number one, oh, he's got like original Led Zeppelin, and I'm going, unless he's got a hot mix of Led Zeppelin too. Just because it's an early 70s Led Zeppelin pressing doesn't mean it's going to command
Depends
a
on
lot
condition.
of money.
It's gotta have good
And then
condition.
there's all the condition. And then to get the most, I'm trying to explain to her, the only way you're going to get the true value out of those records is sell them one at a time.
takes
If you want
forever.
to sell the whole collection, then you're going to sell it as a discount. Nobody's going to pay you the market price for each individual album and then buy 200 albums.
and if you sell them one at a time, there's going to be ones that you're never going to sell.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, but I think like a lot of people, I can remember going to a yard sale and they had a really shitty copy of Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Yeah.
And, it was like barely G grade and they wanted $25 for it. And I'm like, do you realize that there
I got
are
like 3
50
copies of that in my
million
storage.
copies of this record
A million,
available?
yeah.
It's just like,
It was in the condition where we would probably just throw it away.
Yeah.
right.
Almost a throw out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to argue with a thrift store the other day about an ABBA record. They wanted like $15 for Voulez-Vous. And I was like, man. And I talked her down to like $8.
But that is the problem with ABBA. ABBA has risen in price since the Voyage release.
Since the Voyager one, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got one more round there?
All right, let's go.
Yeah. All right. So I've got
Show 'em what
one
you got.
more vinyl record and one more CD. And so my vinyl record is American Football. I know American
on?
Football ended yesterday, but this is the Midwest Emo American Football, their debut, I believe, from 1999. And so I don't know if you know this band, Richard, but I know you like Slint, so you might like this stuff as well.
What's
So-
on there? I can't read it. So
Yeah, you can't read that. I don't know why I'm showing it. So, but Polyvinyl Records, at least the reissues on. I don't know if that was their original label, and I don't know if nobody showed off like cool colored vinyl yet. So there you go. Cool.
That's a
kind of-
reissue of the
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was just saying, there's not much colored vinyl in 1999.
No. And then the
Pretty
last
rare.
thing I'm going to show, which I was thinking Jorgen was going to show, but maybe I'll be surprised and Jorgen doesn't like this person. We'll see. So Moby.
Moby.
Oh, yeah,
So-
Moby. There you go. You got some electronic.
Yeah, I have a little bit. I mean, it's not my main thing, but I have a little bit. So that's my 1999, guys.
Then what
Good
a
job,
year.
Chris. Props for the electronic there, too.
Okay.
There.
Jorgen just had it.
Jorgen's
He's
got
Moby.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put it up, Jorgen. We want to have proof. We both own the same.
Mobies.
All right.
Are
Yeah.
in the
It
house.
definitely is. I think this was Moby when the breakthrough, at least here in
Yeah.
Sweden. And it
Oh
is
yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
a
This was huge in
it's
the
really
US.
great, relaxing, and experimental one.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, what have you got to send us through, Jorgen?
Yeah, I have the usual go through. How
Doing
about
fast.
starting with a band that I was extremely disliked back in mid 90s, and then when I heard their single in 1999, I was like, this was good. And the rest of the singles and the entire album as well. And I was shocked that all of a sudden the Cranberries was so great with their album. So this is Animal Instinct. We have Just My Imagination. And the single that made me go shock was Promise. And that one is by far, Bury the Hatchet 1999 album is by far Cranberries' best album. And unfortunately, I only have it on a cassette copy. The World Is Not Enough. This year's James Bond theme by Garbage.
Ah, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And we have a couple of albums that Christopher mentioned previous, and that I also have. He mentioned Swedish group Kent and their album Hagnesta Hill. I like Kent, some songs here and there, but not the entire band before. But that all changed when I heard Hagnesta Hill, because this was such a fantastic album. And every album thereafter, I really, really loved. And I started to like the albums before this also. So with that, I became a huge Kent fan. And I might show it again in 2000. Of course, there is a British version, English version that came in 2000. But really, really great. They're starting to lean more and more towards synth pop style. He also mentioned this, Thåström. And now I'm going to speak Swedish. Det är ni som är de konstiga, det är jag som är normal. You are the one who are the strange, I'm the one who's normal. Thåström is a Swedish punk rock legend that did some great solo stuff, in my opinion. And this might be one of his best. This is rock and roll, heavy rock and roll, but really, really great one. I really like this album.
Did you say punk rock legend?
Yep.
And you have the record.
He was a punk rock legend in the early 80s.
Okay.
But
So
this is more regular rock.
So this is definitely not punk.
No.
Okay.
But more regular rock and roll. Almost
I got
a
shocked for a
little
minute,
close
too.
to a heavy metal, but not really there. But it's really, really great groove. This is an album that I was debating with myself if I'm going to show or not, because this is a band I really like, and I'm showing 9 million times. But this is not their best album. I consider this one of their worst albums, but I have it for the collection and for that it contains some great songs, but it's definitely not their best album. The Pet Shop Boys' Nightlife.
Uh-huh.
And I think this is a little low period of there. Contains some great songs. I don't know what you want, but I can't give it anymore. That is a great one. It contains some really, really, really great stuff also. But overall, it is a disappointing album from the Pet Shop Boys, in my opinion. They became bad. They rose again then later on. So it was a temporary downfall, but still a downfall. George Michael, Songs from the Last Century. George Michael do covers of other songs, of the previous songs, and it really is amazing, well arranged and great, relaxing versions. You can see here the songs that are. So a really, really great cover album from George Michael. We have electronic which is Johnny Marr and Bernard Sumner from New Order and the Smiths. This is a more indie pop version of electronic, and it still is really, really great. They released, in my opinion, only great albums when they were electronics. And finally,
Picture of Rasputin on the cover.
the album, an artist that may signify the 1999 year, but not because his album was relevant in 99, because he made a song much earlier that would become a signature for 1999. I'm talking, of course, of Prince, or Symbol in this case. Yet another one made to get out of the B&G contract, Warner Brother contract.
How do you pronounce symbol in Swedish?
Ha! This is Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic. Really nice odd sleeve. Not Prince's best album, but still very funky, great, but maybe not the easiest melodies. But
yeah, he's kind of hit and miss. He's an artist that's just, it's so weird to collect Prince. I don't know. There's a lot of stinkers, I find,
but people played Prince 1999, but maybe not from this album necessarily.
Oh, there, Chris has got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With this,
I remember going to a
I
club
have
and
that
hearing
one.
that in
I have that
99.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is 1999 for me.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree
Good job,
that Prince is an odd one for, to collect. I mean, there's a couple other Prince albums I know I should pick up, just because of their significance. But
my favorite is his early years. The first 4 albums are all good. Like Controversy, Purple Rain, of course, is huge. And
Right.
Prince, like the self-titled, is really good if you're into like R&B, soulful stuff.
I think the early Prince were really great. That Black album was a really great one. The one I have problem with is Parade, because I think Parade is very boring, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that is the one Prince album I have a problem with. I haven't made up my mind yet whether I should have it for the collection or if I should skip it. Depends on how much space I have.
He's very indulgent. Like there was no edit there, so he just kept going and recording everything. I mean, he had his own recording studio, so he just went for it.
Yeah. Plus, he sort of distanced himself from the earlier material when he became more religious. So, and I always view that. I always view that as okay, well, that's his best material. When they do something like that. Do you have stuff to send us off for 1999, Jason?
I have one last record I'm going to show for 1999. Right. So this is a little bit of a spoiler alert because it'll show up on my video later on, very high in my top 10 albums. Another hip-hop record, surprise, surprise. This is Prince Paul, the producer from De La Soul. And now he's gone. De La Soul has kind of broken up by now. They might be back together now, but he's gone out solo. And this is such a cool album, Prince Among Thieves. It's almost like a movie soundtrack, the way that they made the record. And there's a lot of guest appearances.
The title is kind of that, too.
Including this guy here, Big Daddy Kane makes an appearance on here. And lots of guest artists. It's on Tommy Boy Records. So Tommy Boy at this point has gone back underground, independent. They did have major distribution.
That just reeks golden era right there.
Yeah, he's golden era, exactly. So you can see why I picked it up, even though this is outside of the zone. Cool Keith's on here. Everlast, Bismarcky, R.I.P. He's gone. Chubb Rock's on here. So all kinds of who's who. But it really does play, like you want to listen to the whole thing all the way through because all these like skits and stuff. It plays like a movie almost. So that is my last pick for 99.
All right.
Prince Paul. Good album. I think that got reissued recently. That's my OG.
I was looking, and because the next is going to be the year 2000.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I think I'm going through what shows up here in my Discogs, but I type in 2000, and I'm getting records from 2021, and you know, and so
You got to sort through it. Yeah.
Yeah, because actually this was
Yeah, when you buy a reissue, it'll show up as 2021, even though it came out in 2000 or something like that.
right. So I have to be careful which ones because I'm seeing like a Sergio Mendes, the debut that is showing up in under 2000. Well, that's because you know, this is a 1968 Japanese pressing I have, but it was reissued in 2000. I'm sure that's why it's uh, anyway. Yeah, it'll take me a while to figure out what I have, but I have a funny feeling that I'm going to be pretty skint again when it comes to um, releases going into the 2000s. Although I do have a lot more music. There are some bands that uh, came out later in the 2000s in the second decade that I enjoy a lot, and certainly we'll be, you know, talking about them as we come along. But thank you guys for joining, and thank you out there in the audience, you know, for watching. And remember that I am also on Instagram. We are also we have the Gunkles. You may want to check us out. We will have our live stream from last night is being broken up and should be posted. The edited versions, you know, because hey, if you weren't there,
you guys are figuring out what to throw.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll probably get 2 videos out of that because it was 6 hours.
Yes, I said I watched about 2 hours of it. First hour, then I watched the next 2 hours, and then I left. I didn't. Then I guess you were on for 3 more hours.
Yeah. So
I don't know that channel. I gotta find that channel.
We'll see you again, and always remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.